And we are back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We are live from Las Vegas at AWS reInvent 2024 with our first ever Industries Live broadcast. I'm your co-host, Chris Niederman, head of AWS Industries and Solutions in our partner organization, here with
Adi Dabashi. I've been with AWS 6.5 years, and I've had the opportunity to drive partner solutions across that time. I'm part of Chris's team, and we now work across the industry, focused on financial services solutions for ISVs, technology, consulting partners, and kind of bringing it all together for our line of business customers. And I'm with...
Hey, James Becker, one of our technology strategists here at Caylent, focused mainly on the financial services industry. Been in the space for about 10 years now across, banking, capital markets, and insurance. Also with me is...
Hi, everybody. I'm Randall Hunt. I'm CTO of Caylent. We're an all-in on AWS premier tier consulting partner, and we help people turn their ideas into impact faster.
And I'm just going to jump in. You guys are too humble. Let's just start out by talking about the awards that you've received.
That is massive.
Yeah.
First ever industry awards we've given, and you just took home a few, right? So, the Global FSI Partner of the Year. Outstanding. Congratulations. Golf applause here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the Gen AI Industry Partner of the Year. I mean, come on. It's got to make you feel good.
I mean, at Caylent, we bias for hiring passionate autodidacts, so it's fun to get people who are curious and want to dive in. And then we're also extremely lucky to have customers that want to dive in and use the latest technology. Because if we had customers that weren't interested in generative AI, we wouldn't have won those awards because we wouldn't have had the opportunity to build those things. So we have the opportunity now to just build cool things with these customers who are willing to lead in and take advantage of the latest advances.
What a great customer obsession. Yeah. That's why we get along so well. We're both customer obsessed.
Yeah, and if you apply that to the financial services space, through historically we've started in the cloud foundation, working up through infrastructure, data, and then obviously generative AI is kind of the new wave. So having that core competency in traditional cloud really makes it easy for us to translate within the same industry into those different technologies that are evolving.
And I think that's so important in the way Caylent's kind of navigated it. You're flexible, you're nimble, you're kind of bringing a challenging set of capabilities to your customers as well, saying, hey, you need to push the front, get out there faster. I think something we should definitely... I'm sorry.
I was going to say, we kind of just jumped right in here because it's super exciting. Maybe there's a lot of folks, tens of thousands of people probably listening, hopefully, viewing. They may not know anything about Caylent. Maybe give us, who the heck are you guys?
So, like I said, we help people build things in AWS. So if you have an idea or if you have a migration that you want to do, we do everything from heterogeneous database migrations to moving from on-prem into AWS. And we are a consulting partner, so we get hands on keyboard, we write code. We've modernized everything from Fortran and Ruby to .NET and COBOL, and we help people just take these kind of legacy systems that may have become a little bit parasitic in nature instead of symbiotic, and we help them revolutionize that technology and have it add impact to the business that they're trying to drive. And the reason people work with a partner like Caylent is because they want to focus on their product. This is what we said in the keynote yesterday. They want to focus on their product. They want to focus on building their own company and not deal with the undifferentiated heavy lifting of building a platform and infrastructure to support that product. And we represent, thousands of years of millennia of cumulative AWS experience that we've built with our team. We have over 700 people certified, and we're still growing. And if you have something you want to do, you're welcome to reach out to us. We just really enjoy building cool things.
I love it. That is fantastic. No, I think something that's been really unique about Caylent is the focus with which you've been able to drive value at your customers. Financial services, they're historically and always a conservative and cautious industry. But Gen AI has just been so different in financial services. And Caylent's been in the forefront of this. They're engaging you, they're working with you to figure things out. Would love to know how those conversations have been going. What are some of the macro trends you all have been seeing?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, I mean, to your point around, innovation and managing that at scale or in a financial services space, one of the big things is making sure it's ready for production, right? So over the last year, we've seen a lot of organizations go from, I have 15 proof of concepts and, centered around customer experience or, in the financial service space, intelligent document processing, an oldie but a goodie, or, more innovative things like, analyst AI type concepts, right? We're abstracting away the manual interpretation of data. We're offloading it to LLMs and using that as another signal in our ecosystem. So for us, it's really about helping customers who have the business expertise and the understanding of their specific, problem or space, and having us come in and apply, an evaluation framework or best practice software engineering in a distributed system, with 10 lambdas or 15 lambdas or whatever the scale is. They have these investment, people or team members, analysts who are working in a notebook or a specific, very, contained environment. And when they're going to prod with these, they're distributing them in all these different services. And it's really about helping them essentially move in the right direction that way and making sure that they are comfortable putting these systems in prod, non-deterministic in nature type of thing.
That's so important. We're in a time when line of business teams are really looking for that clear value. There's a very interesting report by Caylent that calls out that 40% of the technology decisions are actually happening with the line of business owner. And so when we're talking about Gen AI and you're kind of bringing it straight to business value that these line of business owners see, that's incredible. So taking that proof of concept, but then also taking that across to production, that's exactly what businesses ask for. We should be really thinking about these as repeatable plays and patterns that we can take across customers. With that, any customers or stories that come to mind, want to know that story? How did it play out? Give us a full picture.
Yeah, we have two that I'm going to kind of talk about just very briefly. And again, they're going to tie back into that macro trend of, how do we get the most, the minimum viable tokens out of an LLM architecture, right? So the first one is essentially, like I said, the oldie but the goodie, the intelligent document processing system. Financial institutions, one specifically we've been working with, have outsourced, that system itself. It's extremely expensive. And now with the innovations happening at AWS and, really they're looking to take that in-house. So they've built themselves this distributed architecture, these different API crawls across Textract or Bedrock and some of the different services, bringing Caylent in to help them operationalize it, implement an operational, visibility platform, and essentially working through, managing token counts and those different types of things. And the other one in a very similar, a different vein, but a very similar, thread, is that analyst AI concept, right? How do we interpret vast corpuses of financial information? In the space, there's still plenty of PDFs and those traditional data constructs around. So how do we leverage in a cost-effective way, in a quality-oriented way, driven from the business to essentially produce those outcomes? So one of those situations we're coming in the middle of the build, right, and helping them get that through to production. And then the other one, we're actually starting at the source at the innovation. How do we take this technology and overlay it with our existing data systems and ecospaces and really integrate it and look at the data through a different lens?
That's fascinating. Unstructured data and documents have just been sitting in these organizations for years. That there's so much value in there, and it's hard. It's been hard to kind of extract that, get it into the right context. You've kind of called out how the tokenization is also calculated. Elaborate on that. It sounds fascinating. It's pretty unique.
So I was on another show a couple of days ago, and we had this conversation about what are CFOs thinking about right now. And we found that you remember back in the day when we were first getting started with the cloud, that we had to teach people, oh, look, this is not OpEx, or this is OpEx, not CapEx, and explaining how the elasticity would give them more flexibility and overall save them costs. With the advent of generative AI and this per token cost, where if those of you who may not be aware, a token, you can think of it as just a word or a unit, a few pixels in an image. People were struggling to understand what is the actual cost going to be to implement this across all of my data. And there's one truism, which is at any given time, people are always going to want the highest quality tokens at the lowest possible price as quickly as possible. And if you're delivering that, which makes it pretty easy to do with Bedrock, you can often, win the workload. But then you have to win over the CFO and help explain, oh, this is what our estimated cost will be. And one of the things that we've discovered after working with a large number of financial services clients is that we can calculate a blended rate for most use cases, and we can come up with what we think the average cost will be. That's not to say that you couldn't blow it out of the water if you used a lot of like very specific techniques. And I mean, if we wanted to get super technical for just 1 second, one of the big advantages that we've found is, there's a lot of jargon that exists within financial documents. We worked with a company that had a tremendous number of leases that they were analyzing, and there's a lot of very specific legal jargon in that. And some of the tokens that were being created were overly large, and so we fine-tuned an embedding layer in a llama model to basically reduce the overall token count, thus reducing the cost when we were performing generative inference on those workloads. And I think finding a way to highlight and show the cost difference and when to use which model is very important for people to understand, because it helps inform the architectural decisions you may make, and as well as the application design decisions you may make.
Excellent. So you talk about cost, you talk about cost savings. This morning we were focused in meeting with partners from media entertainment focused industry, and we talked a little bit about cost versus innovation and what customers were looking for. And they had an interesting perspective, and it almost followed the cloud when we first started with cloud, which was conversation always starts with cost and very quickly moves to, okay, how do we innovate and transform? What are you seeing for financial services? Are you seeing a common path, or are you seeing it follow a different path?
No, I mean, it's pretty much exactly that, and I think last year was, I would say, the year of the POC, or the year of the proof of value, right? Every organization, they went to their businesses and they said, hey, give us a list, right? Give us a list of things you want to do. And where we've, kind of seen that mold into is, okay, we've tried out, 15, 20 different use cases, and we found 3 that are really, really business impactful, right? And from there, we're then evolving in how do we get to prod? And again, that ties back into the evaluation framework, that ties back into understanding the cost of operation at scale. Financial services, organizations, they're not talking about 5, 10, 20, they're talking like hundreds and millions of calls, right? So for us, we're very same space. We think that, moving forward, again, a lot of things are going to be moving into production in the next few years, but really absolutely that trend of let's work with it, let's understand it, and let's really understand where it's going to impact us from a business perspective.
And it's such a fascinating area. I think the CFO is coming at this with a very specific lens, which is, I'm ready to invest. I will put in the money. It is not about the cost alone. What I am looking for is clarity of what I'm going to get from it.
Yes.
And I think this is something that we had done with we published a paper with a strategy firm about 2 years ago, and it called out exactly this, which is what is the investment value of the technology I'm investing into. It's something hard to measure, and that same dynamics is just playing out in the Gen AI LLM space. I think, Randall, you said this once before, tokenomics, did you call it?
Oh yeah, I did not coin that term, someone else did, but yeah, I mean, we actually built a small pre-sales tool that we open sourced it if anyone's interested. It's called Bedrock Battleground. I can give a quick demo of it.
I like the name.
Yeah, and it helps people understand the tokenomics, because it breaks down the price performance difference. And I have a little financial services use case up here if we wanted to.
Oh yeah, let's dive in.
And it looks like my internet disconnected.
We're calling it audible here. Hopefully our production crew can handle this here.
All right.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, we're
on.
They're awesome. They're good back there.
Yeah.
There we go. Hopefully we're all connected. So I'm just going to say, this is basically, I've got a Nova Pro, I've got Nova Lite, and I've got Nova Micro up here.
Awesome.
I'm just going to make sure that these are all the right token counts. And what I'll do is I'll just have, hey, write this list of write the CSV as a list of trades, and I'll say like add something interesting to it as well. And we'll see what happens. And what this is going to do is it's going to query all of these models simultaneously. It's going to stream back the response. And what we're able to do with the Converse API from Amazon Bedrock is also get back the token usage and a number of other things, which appear to not be happening. So I'm just going to try something else here.
Always with the live demo, right? Always.
Right. Always.
And we're right at the heart of 60,000 people behind us across the expo using this Wi-Fi. So this coming through is.
But
there we go.
There
it's
we go.
working.
There it goes.
So you can see Nova Pro is chugging along here. It's creating the tokens at a particular pace. This is the largest model, so it's taking a little bit longer. Then we have the CSV data coming from Lite, and it's going quite quickly. And if I scroll over here, you can see this one shows this Nova Micro format shows a completely different format. And keep in mind, this is not a prompt that we would ever use in production. This is really just for demonstration purposes. But you can see it returned first. We got, a time to first token of 490 milliseconds. It cost us, 0.03 cents, and it outputted this many tokens. And once this is done here, we can sort of hover over this, and we can see the difference in cost. So you can see over here, we've got Nova Micro. It's extremely low cost, and it was very fast. But we don't necessarily know the quality of those tokens. And that was what James was talking about earlier, is what is the minimum viable token that we can use as input as well as output to generate a valuable inference. And so when you go back to that conversation, it's a lot of prompt engineering, it's a lot of work around exploring with the different models to take a multi-model solution to bring the right minimum viable token and optimize the cost. And that's where we're at now. It's become a little bit more of a science than an art. I would say even a year ago, it was still more of an art. But now we're able to tackle things. And this is an open source tool. Anyone's welcome to go and play around with it. You just go to battleground.caylent.com.
Yeah. And it's game changing because, even organizations have such different objectives. So a buy-side firm in capital markets might have a very different economics on which they'd like to use their tokens, and they're willing to invest that money. And you may have a conservative credit union in the banking space that says, look, my dynamics are completely different. And so I need to know that my token costs are under these thresholds. So this space really kind of is evolving, but I think the demo is a great way to kind of show you the value and how to kind of offset that cost and that value between the two. So pretty unique in an evolving space that you just demonstrated. So cool.
So we got a couple minutes left. Maybe one, maybe two questions I can squeeze in here. What are you most excited about for next year?
For me, it's really, the evolution of the ecosystem. It's been very fast and very furious with this technology, with this thing that we're working into these very large organizations, right? And they're looking at how to adopt it. And a lot of if you look at a lot of the announcements from yesterday and this week, it's really about how do we make it easier? How do we abstract the model selection process a little bit from the user? How do we make it more cost effective? How do we cache, prompts and those types of things? So for me, it's really just watching the space evolve and actually making it, a viable solution for those production workloads.
Yeah. Speaking of announcements, we've had just a few this week. What's the coolest thing you've heard all week? Announcement, meetings, doesn't matter. Going on the floor, what's the coolest thing you've heard all week?
I mean, as far as announcements, I will say the coolest thing I've seen are those two robots playing chess over there. That is
I heard about that. I got to go see that.
Yes, it is very awesome. So that was the coolest thing I've definitely seen this week.
At Caylent, we collaborated tightly with AWS on the development of Nova, and we had a great time testing it and working with it. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about the other Bedrock features, particularly prompt caching. We have a number of different customers who will benefit from that, and I am excited about the enhanced latency optimized inference mode, about the agentful behaviors that were exposed. I mean, like you said, there have been a tremendous number of announcements, and I know everyone on the Caylent team is already playing with them. And I mean, we've already put the Nova models into our little projects, and I can't wait for the future. But the thing that I think is going to be really interesting going into next year is the multimodal stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. And you're obviously very clearly tied with AWS because you're right in the middle, using Nova right under. And by the way, how cool was it seeing Andy here on stage?
Great.
That was amazing having him back. So I think we're out of time. You want to wrap us up?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say that I think this is such a helpful session, right? Because we bring together the possibilities of Gen AI. You get to see a whole picture of what's evolving and the economics with partners like Caylent. Something that I must call out is partners like Caylent actually show you so much value, but they're also working seamlessly with our teams on the ground and meeting customers together. And that's just helping us speed up in product development, feature development, and then showing those valuable demos to customers. So I'm super excited and happy to have the Caylent team come on.
There's no one else we'd rather partner with.
Fantastic.
I love that. That's awesome.